The worn wooden sign read, "Retired Police Dogs for Sale." It marked the annual canine retirement auction, a place where old service dogs were quietly sold off to strangers. Many people have seen police dogs in action, but very few understand what happens when their service comes to an end. The crowd gathered in the auction yard, eyes fixed on the line of metal cages outside the aging wooden auction house. Inside the cages sat German shepherds, trembling from the weight of their past, ready to be auctioned off to the highest bidder. Some buyers were looking for guard dogs, while others were interested in breeding, but no one was interested in these retired police dogs. To the crowd, they were just dogs, discarded and broken. These animals, who had once been guardians, now sat in cages, as if they were no more than used equipment. Their fur was graying, their eyes tired, yet their loyalty remained. Every single one of them still believed their handlers would return for them, but no one came for them. One dog slowly lifted his head, tears streaking down his face as he understood what was happening. He had given everything, and now he was forgotten. The moment everything changed came when Officer Cole Bennett entered the yard. When he saw the retired dogs, his heart broke. Their eyes were filled with sorrow, and their bodies showed signs of the years they had spent in service. They still wore their faded canine tags, a symbol of their once vital role. Officer Bennett's fists tightened as he watched them cry, and his jaw clenched with anger. He couldn't let this happen. Before the auctioneer could shout, "Who wants to start the bidding?" Officer Bennett stepped forward and shouted, "Stop the auction!" The crowd went silent. The tension in the air was palpable. No one expected what came next. "I will take all of them," Officer Bennett said firmly. The room stood still, shocked. This wasn't just another auction. Something was about to change forever. As the story unfolds, you'll witness a powerful act of loyalty and sacrifice. Stay with us to learn how Officer Bennett saved the dogs that served their communities with pride. But before we dive deeper into the story, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments below. It's amazing to see how far these stories reach. The sun hung low over the dusty sheriff's yard, casting long shadows across the wooden buildings. People had gathered for the annual canine retirement auction, but this wasn't going to be a regular event. The moment the gates opened, a heaviness settled over the place, as though the yard itself knew something was wrong. Rows of metal cages lined both sides, each containing a German shepherd with tired eyes and graying fur. These dogs, who had once charged into danger without hesitation, now sat behind bars with their heads low, defeated. Some pressed their noses against the metal, still hoping to see a familiar face, but no one came. The crowd walked past the cages, murmuring to each other like they were evaluating old equipment. "This one looks strong," one person whispered. "This one's too old." Their words cut through the quiet air like knives. In one cage, a dog lifted his head, eyes filled with sorrow, following every passerby with desperate hope. Another dog beside him whimpered softly, pressing his paw against the bars as tears ran down his fur. Yes, real tears that caught the sunlight, and for a moment even the crowd felt the weight of it. A man in a faded vest leaned toward the auctioneer. "Never seen dogs cry like that," he muttered, his voice low. The auctioneer barely looked up. "They'll be fine once they're bought." But even the auctioneer wasn't convinced. The air was thick with discomfort. The officers around the yard stood with their arms crossed, some uncomfortable, others avoiding eye contact. It was as if everyone knew this wasn't just a regular retirement auction. It felt like betrayal. When Officer Cole Bennett stepped onto the gravel, the barking and whimpering didn't sound like noise to him. It was a language he understood better than most. As he walked through the yard, he felt a heaviness in the air that was hard to explain. The officers around him seemed distant, avoiding his gaze, and Cole knew something was wrong. He approached the cages, his heart sinking with each dog he saw. Their expressions weren't just anxious, they were broken, their eyes haunted by years of loyalty. Then one dog caught his eye, a German shepherd named Shadow. Cole recognized him instantly. "Shadow," he whispered. The dog's eyes locked with Cole's, and he let out a soft cry, his body trembling with emotion. This wasn't just any dog. Shadow had worked with Cole's old partner, Officer Larson, before the tragic incident that changed everything. Shadow wasn't supposed to be here. He should have been living peacefully with a foster family, not locked in a cage waiting to be sold like a piece of old equipment. Cole knelt in front of Shadow's cage, gripping the bars tightly. "What are you doing here?" he whispered. The dog whimpered and lowered his head, his paw reaching through the bars to gently touch Cole's hand. The sight broke Cole's composure. He knew these dogs, he trained with them, deployed with them, bled with them, and seeing them like this, locked up and abandoned, was unbearable. He turned toward the other officers and demanded to know why Shadow was here. "Bennett," one officer said cautiously, "decisions like these came from higher-ups." Cole's stomach dropped. The higher-ups. He looked around, scanning the yard. Something wasn't right. These dogs were more than just retired. They had been discarded. The auctioneer continued his business, tapping the clipboard like it was just another routine. "All right, folks, let's start the bidding." But Cole stepped forward, his voice loud and filled with fury. "Stop the auction!" he shouted. The crowd fell silent, and everyone turned to him in surprise. "I will take all of them," Cole said firmly. No one could believe what they were hearing. The auctioneer hesitated. "You can't do that," he muttered, but Cole didn't back down. "I will take every single one of these dogs." As the tension grew, the dogs began to react to Cole's presence. Shadow, Titan, Ranger, and Blitz, dogs who had once saved lives, now stood in their cages, their eyes locked on him. They had recognized him, and their desperation was palpable. Titan barked softly, Ranger paced, and Blitz began whimpering, his body trembling. The auctioneer grew more desperate, trying to maintain control, but Cole wasn't backing down. "These dogs served this county. They saved lives. They don't deserve this." As the chaos in the yard built, Cole didn't just stand up for the dogs, he stood against the system that had betrayed them. "This isn't a retirement auction, it's a betrayal." The crowd began to murmur, and even the officers in the yard started to shift uncomfortably. The auctioneer tried to regain control, but Cole's anger was unwavering. In that moment, Shadow barked loudly, a sound full of pain, full of grief. And then something unexpected happened. The dogs in the yard began to react in unison, their bodies pressing against the bars as if trying to reach Cole, to protect him. Cole realized they were not afraid, they were pleading. Cole's voice was steady as he declared, "I will take all of them." The room was filled with shock and disbelief. The auctioneer tried to fight back, but the crowd was already behind Cole. They knew something had to change, and for the first time in the yard, there was a glimmer of hope. The dogs were saved, and so was the bond between a handler and his canine partner. Through the powerful journey of Officer Bennett, we see how sometimes doing the right thing doesn't just mean saving a life, it means honoring those who sacrificed for us. These dogs weren't just retired, they were betrayed, and through the courage of one man, they found the respect and love they deserved once again.